Before we start with laws of exponents, let's first start looking at what do we know about numbers and variables. When we look at the number 2, for example, let's see what we actually know about it. Firstly, we know that any number, no matter what it is, can always be placed over the number 1, because 2 divided by 1 still gives me 2. Then, any number always has an exponent of 1. You try thinking of nothing. It's impossible. So the same with a number. It always has an invisible 1. Then if there's nothing written in front of a number, for example a minus, then we know that it has a positive sign in front of it because it's a positive number. If we now move on to variables, remember a variable is still a number. We just don't know what the number is. So if we take the letter A, for example, A as well can be written over the value 1. A divided by 1 is 1. It also has a thought of 1 if no other exponent has been given. There's also a positive sign in front of it if there's no negative. But with a variable, there's always an invisible 1 in front of it as well. A number, we can't put a 1 because it's going to change the number. A constant, or just a number that's without a variable, is just a number. So now let's see how this affects us. So we're going to look at the laws of exponents. So the first law is our multiplication law. It tells me if I have two numbers and I multiply them, they have to have the same bases. And once the bases are the same, I just have to go add the exponents together. Think of it as a multiplication sign. If I flip it over, it becomes a plus. So when I multiply numbers with the same bases are the numbers at the bottom of exponent, I just need to go add the exponents together. So my answer here would be a to the power of m plus n. Let's look at it in a number form. So 2 to the power of 3 so a 2 to the power of 3 times a 2 to the power of 4. Because the bases are the same, I just have to go add the exponents. That gives me 2 to the power of 7. Now if I calculate that, that would have given me 128. So 2 to the power of 7 is the same as 128. See if I'm correct. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. And 2 to the power of 4 is 16. So if we calculate this, 8 times 16, that gives me exactly 128. Therefore, this law is proven correct. The next law we are going to go to is division. So again, it tells me if two bases are the same and I'm dividing them, all I have to do with the exponents is now go and minus them. So how does this work? I simply have to say a to the power of m minus n. Those are your two first basic laws you need to understand. The next law tells me that if I have two brackets and I have a number outside, let's say the exponent is b. That exponent needs to go and multiply with all of the exponents inside. Now remember, 2 also has an exponent of invisible 1. So 1 times b would give me 2 to the power of b, and a, 4 times b, will give me 4b. let's move on to the next exponent, the law of the exponent. The next one tells me if I have a square root, let's say a to the power of 6, it has to divide with whatever is on the outside. Now, when nothing is written on the outside, there's always an invisible 2 because this is a square root. If it had a 3, we'd call it a cubic root, and so forth. So my law tells me that whatever is on the outside has to divide with whatever is on the inside. So my answer here would be 8, 6 divided by 2, which gives me a to the power of 3. Now, let's move on to the next one. The next one tells me that if a number has a negative exponent, it means it's not happy upstairs. So we look at it as a party happening. So here is the upstairs, and the bottom we know that any number is always over an invisible 1. So if it's not happy upstairs, the thought is a negative. It means it wants to go downstairs to the bottom part. So all I have to do is take it down. So now you can't just write a number like this. There has to be something at the top here. And when there's nothing left, we simply go and we put a 1. So our final answer would thus be 1 over 2 to the power 4, which is 16. And that's your final answer. Now we get to the last one. The last one tells me that anything to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. So it could be x to the power of 0, that would give you 1. 10 to the power of 0, that is 1. Anything to the power of 0 is always 1. So how does this help me? Well, if I had a number like 4x to the power of, let's say, negative 5, and everything is to the power of 0, remember this has to multiply with everything inside. So 4 to the power of 0 would give me 1. And negative 5 times 0 will just be 0. So that would be 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. So this whole bracket, if a whole bracket is put to the power of 0, it means the whole bracket is just going to turn into 1. And that is it.